Let me ask you one simple question. Are you thinking like a rich person or a poor person? Most people say they want to be rich, but their mindset, how they think about money, is the exact reason they stay broke. Poor people think in terms of cost. Rich people think in terms of value. You see a $50,000 gold Rolex and think, what a waste of money. That's how poor people think. The rich, they say, I'm wearing my asset on my wrist. It's not just a watch. It's gold. It's a hedge against inflation. And it might be worth more 5 years from now than when they bought it. You think saving money makes you smart? Let me tell you something. Saving money in today's world is like storing ice cubes in the sun. Every hour, they melt. Inflation melts your savings quietly and constantly. But assets, they freeze your wealth in time. Since 1971, when the US dropped the gold standard, your dollar has been losing value year after year. That $100 you saved in 2010, it buys far less in 2025. Rich people know this. That's why they don't save cash. They move it. They buy assets that rise with inflation. Real estate, gold, businesses. They don't fear debt. They leverage it. They borrow cheap money to buy valuable assets. Debt loses value. The asset grows. That's the game. Let me test your mindset. I hold up two things. A $10 bill. A 1964 silver half-dollar coin. Which one would you take? Most people grab the $10. But the silver coin is worth far more because it's real silver. Scarce. Tangible. Inflation-proof. That's the difference between looking rich and being rich. Poor people ask, how much does it cost? Is there a discount? Rich people ask, what's the long-term value? Does this grow or shrink over time? This is the mindset shift. If you're not yet in a place to invest money, that's okay. But you can start by investing in your thinking. Ask yourself better questions. How do I make money work for me? How can I stop trading time for dollars? Am I building wealth or just surviving? So I'll ask again. Are you thinking like a rich person or just hoping to be? Drop your answer in the comments. Coming up in part 2, why inflation keeps making the rich richer and how you can finally turn that system in your favor. Have you noticed something lately? Your groceries cost more. Gas is up. Rent is through the roof. And your paycheck, still stuck where it was last year. You're not crazy. You're living inside a system that's designed to silently drain the value of your money, while making the rich even richer. It's called inflation, and no, it's not temporary. It's not accidental either. It's the result of governments printing money, lots of it. And when money is printed, its value goes down. Everything else goes up. Prices, assets, rent, groceries. That's how the game works. And here's the part that stings. The rich own the things that go up. The middle class and poor, they hold on to cash, which goes down. Let me break it down. If inflation is 8% and your savings earn 1%, you're not just standing still, you're sliding backward. The gallon of milk you bought for $3 last year, now it's $4.25. Same milk, less buying power. That's inflation in real time. Now ask yourself, what do the rich do when they see this happening? They don't panic. They position. They own things that benefit from inflation. Real estate, gold, stocks, businesses that can raise prices without losing customers. When inflation rises, the value of those assets rises too. So while you're wondering why eggs cost $7, they own the chickens. Want a real example? Let's say you buy a house for $400,000. You put down $80,000 and borrow the rest. Over time, inflation kicks in. The house is now worth $500,000. But you still owe the same loan. So your equity grew, the house appreciated, and the bank unknowingly helped you build wealth, thanks to inflation. Inflation made you richer, and the bank funded it. That's what happens when you play the game instead of getting played. Meanwhile, people clinging to cash? They're watching their savings lose power every single day. Because here's the truth. Inflation is a tax, and the poor pay the most. Why? Because their money stays in dollars, while the rich convert dollars into assets that outpace inflation. So ask yourself, do I own anything that gets more valuable as the dollar gets weaker? If the answer is no, you're not just losing money, you're giving it away. The system isn't fair, but it's predictable, and that means it can be beaten if you understand how it works. Coming up in Part 3, how the rich use debt to build wealth, and how you can flip the script, starting with what's already in your bank account. Let's talk about a word that scares most people. Debt. Most people were taught, debt is bad. Don't borrow money. Pay everything off as fast as you can. And to be clear, yes, bad debt is dangerous. Credit cards maxed out. Buying stuff you don't need. Loans for things that lose value the second you walk away. But here's what no one taught you in school. Rich people love debt because they use it to get richer. While most people use debt to survive, the rich use debt to invest. Let me explain. Let's say you have $100,000. You could buy one rental property in cash. Or you could use that $100,000 as a 20% down payment and buy 5 properties with mortgages. Now you control 5 assets instead of 1. They cash flow. They appreciate. They build equity. And the tenants, not you, pay off the loans. This is called leverage, and it's how wealth scales. Because here's the truth. No one builds massive wealth with only their own money. They use other people's money, smartly, intentionally. And the most powerful other person in America? Your bank. Banks literally want to give you money, if you know how to turn it into something valuable. That's how a guy can go from working class to billionaire without ever winning the lottery or selling a tech startup. He just understood how money really works. You see, poor people are taught to avoid risk. Rich people are taught to manage it. Poor people are scared of debt. Rich people study it, master it, and use it to multiply value. But here's where it gets deep. It's not just about borrowing money. It's about what you do with it. If you use debt to buy liabilities, you're toast. Car you can't afford? Designer shoes? Vacation on a credit card? You're not using debt. Debt is using you. But if you use debt to buy assets, a business, a duplex, a cash-flowing website, you're turning borrowed money into long-term wealth. Debt becomes a tool, a lever, a wealth-building machine. The rich don't fear it. They control it. And here's the twist most people miss. Inflation helps borrowers. If you borrow $500,000 today, that money gets easier to repay over time as inflation rises. But the asset you bought with it, it becomes more valuable. That's the game. So while you've been taught to stay out of debt, the rich are quietly using it to build empires. Ask yourself, have I been using debt to build wealth or to fund a lifestyle I can't afford? Because how you answer that question may explain where you are right now financially. Coming up in Part 4, real stories of entrepreneurs who turned a few $1,000s into multi-million-dollar businesses and how they did it without ever asking for permission. Let's make this real. You've probably heard the phrase, start with what you have. Sounds nice, but does it actually work? Can you really go from a few $1,000s, or even zero, to building something worth millions? The answer, absolutely. Because what separates those who do from those who don't isn't money. It's clarity, consistency, and courage. Let me tell you about someone we met on the street in Beverly Hills. She started a small chain of hair salons. Not in New York. Not in Silicon Valley. She wasn't backed by a VC firm. She had no money. What she had was a brother who believed in her. He offered her sweat equity. You run the business. I'll help with the paperwork. No cash. Just hustle. Fast forward. She raised $75 million. Built the brand. Sold the company for over $250 million. What was her secret? She didn't ignore the small stuff. She said, People leave your business for reasons they can't explain. It's not always price. It's energy, atmosphere, clean bathrooms, a silent feeling that no one's in control. You don't need millions to create that feeling. You need to pay attention to the details, to the vibe, to the customer experience, the one thing most businesses get wrong. Now let's talk about Neil Patel. He became a millionaire at 17. He started helping companies get more traffic to their websites. His first client paid him $5,000 a month. That client made $25 million in return. Did Neil have a business degree? Nope. Did he come from money? Nope. His mom was a schoolteacher. His dad worked at a bank. What he had was a skill, and he used it. He didn't wait for permission. He solved problems, and people paid him well for it. Let's pause here. Every entrepreneur who built something from nothing has one thing in common. They didn't wait. They didn't wait to be ready. They didn't wait to have it all figured out. They didn't wait for perfect timing or external validation. They started. They tested. They failed. They iterated. And eventually, they hit. The common myth is that millionaires start with money. They don't. They start with value. They find a need. They fill it. They repeat. In today's world, with AI, automation, and global access, there's zero excuse for not building something that scales. Whether it's a product, a service, content, code, copywriting, coaching, you don't need a storefront. You need a solution people want, and the grit to deliver it consistently. So let me ask you, what problem can you solve that people would happily pay to eliminate? Start there. Coming up in Part 5, why mindset alone isn't enough, and how the rich protect their wealth with assets that don't just grow, they defend. Let's get one thing straight. Getting rich and staying rich are two completely different skill sets. You can build a 7-figure business and lose it in a year. You can win the lottery and go bankrupt faster than someone who never played. Why? Because wealth isn't just about growth. It's about defense. Wealth defense is what the rich do that most people never even think about. And in a world full of inflation, lawsuits, taxes, market crashes, and uncertainty, you better believe they're thinking about it every day. Here's the first truth. Cash is not protection. People think holding cash means safety. But in reality, cash is getting eaten alive by inflation. Every year, it buys less. The second truth. Your job doesn't protect you. A recession hits. Layoffs come. And the security you thought you had, gone overnight. So what do the rich do? They store wealth in real assets. Tangible. Durable. Inflation-resistant. Gold. Land. Income-generating real estate. Dividend-paying stocks. Private businesses. These are the things that hold value, even when the market shakes. And they don't just sit on them. They structure them. LLCs. Trusts. Holding companies. Legal entities that protect their wealth from being easily taken. You sue them. Good luck. The asset isn't even in their name. Now, before you say, well, that's for billionaires, let me stop you. Wealth protection isn't about how much you have. It's about how you treat what you do have. Let me give you a simple example. If you own a small rental property, don't hold it in your personal name. Hold it under an LLC. Why? Because if something goes wrong, a lawsuit, a tenant falls, a fire, your personal savings, your car, your wages are all on the line if you didn't protect it. The rich know this, and they act before there's a problem. Second example. They don't buy depreciating stuff for status. They buy things that store value. A luxury watch. Only if it's made of gold. A car. Maybe. But it better be collectible, limited edition, and hold resale value. Everything is done with intent. Not to show off, but to preserve. Because in a shaky economy, flashy goes broke fast. But value survives. Here's the part they don't teach you. The biggest threat to your wealth isn't just the market. It's your own assumptions. Thinking your paycheck is permanent. Thinking your 401k is untouchable. Thinking your savings account is a fortress. It's not. The rich treat money like fire. It can warm your house or burn it down. So they build fireproof vaults. They plan for lawsuits they haven't faced yet. They insure assets that haven't even been attacked. They don't hope for safety. They build it. So the question isn't just, how much are you building? It's, how much are you protecting? Coming up in Part 6, the final chapter. The truth about financial freedom, why most people never reach it, and how the wealthy think completely differently about time, risk, and purpose. Let's end where most people never start. Freedom. Not just more money. Not just nice cars or ocean views. Real freedom. The kind where you wake up and decide how your day goes. Who you work with. What you say yes to. What you walk away from, without fear. That's financial freedom. And here's the hard truth. Most people never get there. Why? Because they think freedom is a destination. A number. A milestone. If I just had $1 million, $5 million, I'd be free. But the wealthy, they know better. They know freedom isn't about how much you make. It's about how you earn, how you use, and how you protect. They understand that money by itself is useless. It's a tool, a lever, a multiplier. If you give a poor thinker $1 million, they'll lose it in 5 years. But if you give a wealthy thinker $1,000, they'll turn it into something bigger, because they understand the game. So let's break the myth. Freedom doesn't come from a number. It comes from control over your time, ownership of your income, clarity about what matters most, and the courage to walk away from anything that doesn't align. Most people, they're stuck in financial loops they don't even see, working jobs they hate, to buy things they don't need, to impress people who don't care, while ignoring the one thing they truly want: peace. The wealthy reverse it. They don't spend to escape their life. They spend to enhance it. They build systems, businesses, investments, partnerships, that print income whether they work or not. They don't chase every dollar. They choose which dollars matter. And they trade money for time, not the other way around. So the final question is this: what does freedom look like for you? Because if you don't define it, you'll chase someone else's version. And when you finally make it, you'll wonder why you still feel tired, trapped, and empty. The truth: you don't need to be a billionaire to live free. You just need to make enough, passively, to buy back your time, protect your peace, and build the life you actually want. So start with this. Ask yourself not, how can I get rich? But, how can I build a life I don't need to escape from? That's the real flex. And it starts not with more hustle, but with better questions, clearer goals, and smarter action. You've made it to the end. Now the question is, what are you going to do about it? So now, it's your turn. Don't just close this video and go back to scrolling. Make this the moment everything shifts. Drop a comment below. What's one belief about money you're letting go of, starting today? And if this series opened your mind, share it with someone you care about. Someone stuck. Someone ready. Someone who needs to hear this as much as you did. Because the truth is, most people won't hear this in school, or from their parents, or even their friends. So be the reason they do. And if you're ready to go further, to actually build your version of financial freedom, make sure you're subscribed. We've got more coming. More mindset. More strategies. More unfiltered truth, from people who've actually built wealth, not just talked about it. Let's build a future where freedom isn't rare, it's normal. But it starts with you. Right here. Right now.